Whether you're used to cruising cats or coming to them for the first time, the bottom line is that they're very different to monohulls. But how? Why does it matter?
Here we're going to look at some of the difficult decisions you'll need to make if you're thinking of buying a catamaran and help you make the right decisions. Most people are going to encounter the kind of catamaran we used in this series, and I can tell you it was very comfortable to live on board. I can also tell you that it wasn't very fast or exciting to sail. It's not surprising, really. Catamarans can be fast, and if they're fast, they usually don't have the space you want inside. They all have two hulls, but then cars all have four wheels, and some of them are built for high-performance driving, and others are built for literally living aboard if it's a motorhome, and nobody drives a motorhome because they want an exciting driving experience. So it's basically a matter of not so much a choice between space and speed, but finding the right compromise that suits the kind of sailing you want to be doing. In fact, it is possible to have performance and pretty good accommodation, but you don't often see that on the water because the problem is it's horribly expensive to do that. So really we've got three different what you might call attributes potentially in a catamaran. We've got maximum space, we've got maximum performance, and minimum cost. And that lends itself quite well to being illustrated in a little triangle which has been shown by lots of people over the years to explain this. It's not complicated. If you draw a sort of equilateral triangle like that and put at each apex, let's say high performance here on one and economy down here. Economy, that means cheap to buy in the first place, probably cheap to run as well. So we put economy down there. And obviously the third corner is maximum space, or let's say comfortable living. There we are. And basically, having drawn that triangle, if I put the pen in the middle, I can move towards any of those corners I want. But obviously as I move towards one, I go further away from the other. If I go up and down the line between high performance and comfort, I'm going to be a long way from economy. So it's a very, actually at the core of this whole consideration is this funny little triangle, and it does help people to understand that, as in life generally, you can't have everything. You can only have a compromise between the various things that you would like to have. Now, if you're thinking about buying a boat for yourself, let's say you've been through this apprenticeship in charter boats, you may feel that you have learnt a lot and you want to have enjoy a bit more performance. So there are various catamarans you can buy that are orientated a bit more that way, but you will probably have to choose certain devices that are designed to enhance performance, and it's important to understand how cost effective each of those choices are. Probably the first one is that although on a charter boat you just have a couple of stub keels which are sort of designed just to take some of the leeway out of the boat when you're sailing upwind, they're not very effective, and you can get a huge change in performance by substituting those for dagger boards, which are high aspect boards which are far more efficient. So that's probably quite a good way of spending your money, is on getting a boat that has those if it's performance you're interested in. Perhaps on the other side of that equation, you do see on race boats or performance boats generally, you see the use of wing masts. Now, they are designed so that the mast is always presents very little drag to the wind, but they are very expensive devices. And although one race boat will go faster than another one because it's got a wing mast and the other one hasn't, in the sort of mid-ground we're talking about, where there's a compromise between space and performance, it probably isn't a very viable or cost-effective expense, and you're better to stay with a conventional mast. Another decision, which is likely to be already taken according to the style of boat you have, is that to have performance you need, just as you do on a monohull, you need a high aspect rudder, or a pair of rudders in this case. Now, deeper rudders means you can't go into little creeks you might have enjoyed to go in otherwise. So that's typical of the sort of choice you have to make when you're summing up the decision between emphasis on comfort or emphasis on speed. To help throw some light on what's really needed as your ambitions increase in terms of performance, here's Brian Thompson with a few of his thoughts.
Most racing multi-hulls will have a wing mast, and they are very, very fast, downwind particularly, so the apparent wind stays very far forward. On a Mod 70 it might be 35 to 45 degrees apparent, which is within the rotation ability of the mast, which goes to about 45 degrees. But for a cruising boat, it's not inherently as fast, and you're often not going flat out anyway, so the apparent wind angle when you're going downwind might be 85 to 110, and you're not going to be able to rotate your wing mast that much. So downwind it won't be as efficient as on a race boat. I think the most important thing, whether it's wing mast or conventional mast, is the biggest performance gain would be to go to a carbon rig rather than a aluminium rig, and carbon rigging, PBO rigging rather than metal rigging. So saving weight would be, I think, a higher priority to me than whether it's a conventional mast or a wing mast. Well, all racing multi-hulls will have lifting dagger boards, and many cruising cats do as well at the more high performance end of the market, and it will definitely significantly increase your windward performance having dagger boards. And sometimes even when you're docking in a strong wind and it's deep water, then having your dagger boards down will make the boat track better, slip sideways less when you're docking. So I think we might see more and more dagger boards used on multi-hulls. You know, there's a limit to how close you want to take a cruising cat towards a racing multi-hull, so there still needs to be a balance there in terms of how high performance you want to go with your cruising boat. And I think there is a cruising boat out there for everyone's tastes.
Also, Lloyd Thornburg on some of his experiences.
Multi-hulls are a sort of a special type of sailing. I think what originally attracted me to multi-hulls was cruising. Originally, was it's such a nice platform to cruise. When you arrive at an anchorage, you have a nice place to hang out, and it's very easy to, on a smaller boat, to deal with a tender with davits and good passage-making miles. But the more I sailed them, and the more I got a taste of the speed potential, the more Orma 60 videos I started looking at online, and the faster we wanted to go, and then we started to race, and I guess the speed becomes really, really addictive. The Mod 70 or this type of high-performance trimaran is a really incredible thing. You know, when you get a lot of breeze, we hit top speeds up in the 40s, but that's generally pretty brief. But what's even more amazing, or surprises most people, is that between 10 to 15 knots, you know, we're doing 18 to 20 knots of boat speed upwind, and reaching, we're maybe still touching 30 knots on a reach. And I mean, it seems that you spend almost as much time slowing the boat down or sort of managing the power as you do trying to speed the boat up, because there's almost seems to be always an excess of power with the boat. They're really incredible, and exceptionally fast in light wind as well.